Hello folks, it's Reed Scott from Liberty Racing Review. Sorry you can't really see my face because of the shade from my hat, but as you can see behind me, we are at Montgomery Motor Speedway, aka Alabama's House of Speed. Now, I gotta confess that's not exactly where today's video is going to be taking place, but I have an explanation for that. So, the Alabama 200, the Hunt for the Bear, is the biggest race of the year here in Montgomery. It's coming up just over a month from now, as of the time of this recording. And so, in order to prepare for that event, we're going to take some behind-the-scenes looks at some race shops in the area, starting off with today's video, which will take us up to Birmingham, Alabama, to see the Adventures in Racing shop, which is owned and operated by Roger and Bobby Roos. Now, the Roos family have a rich history of racing here. They've got ties to Birmingham, Montgomery, NASCAR. They've done road racing. They do short track racing. If you can name it, they've probably done it. Today, we're going to go see, an inside look at their operation and highlight some of the preparation and the work that goes into this short track racing deal, and what you can expect to see from them this season at Montgomery Motor Speedway. So, I guess it's about time to hit the road. Got about an hour drive ahead of us, and let's go. Well, we made it to the shop, picked up JP along the way, and you can thank him for that time-lapse footage. So I guess we're about to go inside and see what they got going on here. So we're here at the Adventures in Racing shop here at Bobby Roos, and there's a lot of cars around here, a lot of stuff to get into. So Bobby, I guess let's start off with what can we expect to see out of this team here in Montgomery this upcoming year?
Well, they have multiple divisions down there, which is good for us because we have multiple divisions represented within the shop. We've been primarily running the late model sportsman that we worked into out of the pro late models. We've always kept a pro late model, but now we're kind of focusing more on the outlaw cars, with the wedge bodies. So this year we'll run the outlaw. If looking at the schedule, I would say 4 to 5 of those for sure. With Jeremy Williams running that car, he ran it for us all last year as well. We have a secondary car that we ran at the Snowball Derby this year, but I think we're trying to sell that car now, and try to focus on one driver per race for us specifically. But as we talked about the multiple divisions, there are 2 additional late model sportsman cars that run out of this shop with John Strickland and Anthony Lilia, and then we also have 2 crown stocks that run out of here with Chris Mitchell. And then Anthony Lilia has a crown stock as well.
You've done everything from NASCAR trucks to SCCA. What's rewarding about short track racing at this level?
I think it's the people. It's close, which is helpful. Kind of like running the road courses at Barbers. No hotel rooms. It's close to home. But there's a lot of really good people that run Montgomery, and I grew up going there as a little kid with my dad, when him running his street stock, and then as a 9 or 10-year-old with helping Stanley Smith with his late model and stuff. So I raced there when I was 16, so always had a special place in my heart for Montgomery. Because it's close and there's always good people, and I really like Stan a lot. He came to us from Georgia after they lost the regular promoter they had, and I didn't know him prior to that. But getting to know him, Stan's is a really good promoter because he cares deeply about racing. And you want your promoter to care about the racing. You want him to care about the competition. You want him to care about the competitors and care about the fans. And he does a really, really good job of putting it all together in a good picture.
Now, being up here in Birmingham, hour and a half away from Montgomery, not too far away, but it also means that your family has a lot of history up here. Your dad being a VIR, can you tell me a little bit about that and how that kind of got you into this?
Yeah,
racing?
He moved down here from Ohio and was primarily into road racing, and was working on his car at a shop in Trussville with Andy Van, and Andy was also helping Stanley Smith with his round track program. And so when the 2 cars are in the same shop together, it's really easy to migrate over to one and go, what are you guys working on? Or they come over and look, what are you working on? And Dad and Stanley struck up a really good friendship, And so Dad started going and helping him at BIR. At the time, we were obviously racing fans, so we were going and sitting in the stands, but Dad didn't know anybody. You know, he was primarily the first 5 years we were here, he was doing slalom racing and stuff within with SCCA and in parking lots and stuff. So Stanley was kind of his in for the round track world, and he learned a lot by going down in the pits and everything. And I think in 1982, Dad built a Chevelle and started racing himself. He did that in 82 and 83. And then in 1984, wanting to kind of take racing to the next level, he took over promoting the racetrack in 84 and 85. But he did a lot to change racing with things like he had a helmet dash for non-winners where they raced just for a helmet. He let the drivers get in free. He brought in the Allison group, the Alabama gang, to run a match race. He would pay cup drivers to come in and run the track. And some of that stuff he learned from Tom Gore and other promoters, but I think he did a lot to really kind of get the racing off the map and make it more of a fan-friendly experience. And was very good at that. Did a lot of advertising and stuff. Did a lot of B2B. So yeah, that carried. You know, when he got out of promoting, it went back to Roger was racing at the time. So Roger was racing on Friday, and then we were driving somewhere with Stanley on the weekends to travel, whether that was his late models or even eventually his Xfinity and Cup Series racing. So that was that then led to 2001 when Roger started running late models himself, and the rest is history. And it's been a wild ride. We'll start with these with the Outlaw cars right here. As you can see, they're almost identical. It's two different bodies. It was actually put on by two different people. Little different variations, but the difference between these cars and late models is primarily the body. It's a dirt style wedge nose body. It has a lot of air openings to allow air to come out from underneath the car. With these fenders here, allows air to travel out. There's openings here. It's also flat on the side. It's not very rounded. The back of the car is completely wide open, so you can actually see the fuel cell from behind the car. But both of these chassis were, this was a late model, pro late model car that we converted, and this was a late model Sportsman that we converted. So they're late model body, or chassis underneath a wedge style Outlaw type body. Not really percent of Montgomery, but this is one of our road racing chassis. As you can see, it looks almost identical to a super late model or a pro late model. The difference is the chassis underneath is more squared off.
Symmetrical.
Yeah. So we get 50-50 with it. But we don't run this at Montgomery, but I will tell you a funny story about that. Many years ago, I had one of these, and I did not have a Sportsman car. And so I decided to convert my road racing car to go run the Sportsman Series at Montgomery, which you couldn't really tell the difference. It had a Camaro fiberglass body on it. The difference was for the competitors, because I did not disconnect the brake lights on the back of it. So when we went into the corner, they got to see my brake lights come on, and that was messing with their head a little bit. But that was kind of fun. These are the late model Sportsman cars. Now, these are owned by two different friends, and we had two different drivers driving them. It was Jeremy and Justice Evans were driving, and they actually got into a wreck together, and as you can tell, that front end went under that rear end. But they haven't been repaired yet, but they will be before the first race. The difference between this and a pro late model or super is the 8-inch wheels and tires, and the motor that's under the hood. So it's not a sealed motor. You can run any motor you want to. You just have to run a 2-barrel carburetor. So both of these cars, this one used to be a super, and this car was a pro late model that Jackie McGuire drove at Montgomery and Birmingham back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But these are the two Crown Stock cars. This one is Chris Mitchell's here, and this one is Anthony's. Both of these ran at the race in January that was also the Powder Puff race.
Mm-hmm.
This one broke, so it didn't get to run the Powder Puff race, and it only ran like 2 laps in the race, and it was something to do with the ignition. And I think Chris finished second and third in this one, and then his sister-in-law finished second or third in this one in the powder puff race. So, yeah, and that's the go-kart racing trailer because we now have the 5th generation. My grandson's racing wing carts out of here, so that's the go-kart trailer. But
When was the last time you ran the road course boat model?
we ran Barbers in September. Actually, we ran Road Atlanta. I apologize, and we only got to run most of those races are 2-day shows, and Roger and I only got to race 1 day. And unfortunately, I got hung up in traffic, and by the time I got cleared out, he was 16 seconds ahead of me, and I ran him down to 2 seconds. But he got the best of me. So we've had fun with that because he and I alternate back and forth, especially at Barbers. He'll win on Saturday, I'll win on Sunday, or I'll win on Saturday, he wins on Sunday. So we have a lot of fun with those. That's a really fun class, and we're probably gonna. I say we don't like travel, but we're probably gonna go to Daytona, Road America, and Watkins Glen, New York this year. So lot of you know. I mean, I'm 55, but I don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. So always racing, always living. That's one of my favorite sayings. So these are our 2 pro late model cars here. The ones that we talk about, the super late models and pros. Wayne is rebuilding the nose on the white one to make sure we get the maximum amount of clearance on the nose. We want to get it sealed off as best we can, and then we have the other one over here. It's pretty much ready for. It's pretty much ready for decals and final setup. So we're going to bring this car to Montgomery on February 28th and test it, and then we're going to race one of our outlaw cars there. So,
this place the walls are adorned with sheet metal, there's trophies. Notice we have some NASCAR pieces over here. I know you've had some NASCAR history. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
we did. We do. We were friends with Mike Harmon growing up. Had mutual friends, for the most part, and he asked me if I wanted to run the Road America Xfinity race, which I think at that point it was the Busch Series, in 2014. And that led to Roger and I running all the road course races for him for 2 years in a row. Through that relationship is how we met Jordan Anderson. And with Jordan, we were able to run the truck races in 17, 18, and 19 on road courses. And there's a whole bunch of different numbers that we've run, but we've also run Jordan's Anderson's number 3. When we had the iHeart Mac and Cheese sponsorship, I'm sure you remember that. It wasn't so much of a sponsorship as it was the restaurant that I owned at the time. But we ran that car in New York, and we ran it in Texas, Dakota, Daytona. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I'm glad we did it. We were never the worst. We were never going to be the best, but it was an experience to go and do it. Made a lot of friends, met a lot of nice people, and my relationship with Jordan continues today. We're a small part of involvement in his team with the Xfinity series, very small part, but he's a wonderful person, and he's also a great team owner, and it's great to be part of his success and all that he and his partner John have accomplished up there, and it's been great. And the 47 one that's on the left was that bumper that I bought on an auction. That was one of the drivers got run into by Dale Earnhardt Jr. And I can't remember his name at the time. I'm embarrassed to say that, but Jr. was leaving the racetrack. They were about to load the car up, and Jr. walked up, and they were razzing him about it and everything. Well, he got out a Sharpie and he signed the bumper. Well, then they decided to auction it off and use the money for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s charity. And so I got on there and bid on it and won the bid. And I went to Talladega and was able to get to pick up the bumper there and get my picture taken with Dale Jr. and the driver that drove the car, whose name I can't remember at this time, which I hate that. But yeah, the rest of the doors are all from cars that we've had over the years, and the hoods that we've had. This the one on the far left over here. I ran a Pinto for a little while at BIR. I don't have any of the street stock doors, but there's some stuff up there from my brother ran the Charlotte Daytona Dash Series for in 89, 90, and 91. So there's some body parts from those cars up there as well. So that was all over the country, mostly a North Carolina-based series. One of the things that I like about the late model cars is look at the different multiple places that you can go to with an old Super and old Pro. You know, you can go to Outlaws, you can go to late model Sportsman, and so you can keep some of these cars forever. You know, Roger's first late model that we bought in 2000, he ran it as a Pro and a Super for many years. We actually road raced that car for a whole year. Then I raced it. Then my daughter raced it. And then I eventually sold it to Joe Bethay, Montgomery driver, and he turned it into an Outlaw and ran it. It finished second at the Derby multiple times. I'm pretty sure. And you're talking about a car that's been around Daytona, that's been around Mid Ohio, that's been around Birmingham, Montgomery, Road Atlanta. You know, that car, that chassis has a storied history, and there's actually a like a center plate up there on the wall because we took it as a show car to Dallas, Texas, for a group called ASHRAE, which is this American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers, which is a group that we were part of. And we had it in a booth there with Bobby Allison and everything. It was an old deal that my dad put together. And, you know, that is where that car started. And to know, I don't even know where it's at today, but to think about all the places that one chassis went to, it's just a great story, you know.
I feel like at the short track level, you have a lot of that. You have stories of cars that have transformed year after year after year, as opposed to the top series where it's a purpose-built car. It's ran like 5 times throughout the year, and then, you know, that's all it is. A NASCAR Next Gen is a NASCAR Next Gen. But one of these can be a Pro, a Super, a Sportsman, a Limited, whatever, and it can be around for a while.
A lot of tracks. You can run a lot of different places, yeah. Exactly right. I always tell the story of the guy from New York who put his street stock on an open trailer to come to the Snowball Derby from New York. I mean, that is a long haul. But, you know, he made a story out of it, and people followed him, and so it was interesting to follow that guy. He only came for 2 years, but, you know, we have at Montgomery, you have people that come in from Sayre occasionally, Huntsville. You have people that come from Opp, Pensacola. You know, it's not as prevalent as it was in the 80s, where there was a straight line of 6 racetracks, but it's still is in some way is, you know. There's just no Birmingham, but that I've seen people from Huntsville come run Montgomery in multiple classes. I've seen people come up from Opp. There's people from Montgomery that go to Opp. So it is kind of neat to see when people run. I mean, I love Racing Reference because you can keep up with almost every track around here, even if you're not there and there's no video. So, yeah, it's a great little track, and it hasn't changed much since I've been going, except for the wall ad or they built a concession in the technical building back 20 something years ago. But I mean, it's the great track that I grew up racing it in 86, 87. So it's enjoyable. And, I love the place. Great people down there.